welcome to the Liverpool Online podcast of the new Liverpool Community Podcast Show. We decided to change the name because we realized if we're international, people need to know where we're coming from. We're coming from Liverpool. I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch, here on Liverpool Online. And as you notice, the set has changed. People have changed. I haven't changed. But, I love my guests. And I love, always talking to people from the community that I feel you would like to hear from because I like to hear from them, too. So I would like to welcome my guest, Dan Spellman from KCC Lie. Hello, Dan. How you doing?
Hello. Nice to see you again. We only saw each other, 2 weeks ago at the Love for Music Awards, which we'll get on to. But thanks for having me.
Hey, well, Dan, it's like one of those things where, when you're in the same kind of arena, you kind of you spin in orbit around people. So we know of each other, but we never really actually had the opportunity to meet.
You just saying that reminds me of a story. I'm sure you know Jamie Broad, who was at the awards.
Oh, yes.
So me and him were the same. He'd listened to me show on KCC Lie for years, and he's done events for KCC Lie, but we only met in 2019 and properly face to face.
Right.
We were just ships in the night crossing, and that's the industry as a whole in media, and probably Liverpool as a city as well. Everyone knows each other, but we sort of go, oh yeah, and he's a friend of a friend, or it's that sort of that vibe, or we'll just not meet till pretty much.
Well, basically, just to start it off with, you can't be from Liverpool and not know of KCC Live. But let's just give ourselves a little bit of an origin story because, obviously it's been around for some time. So if you could give us the beginnings of KCC Live, what does KCC stand for actually?
So a lot of people think because we were attached to Knowsley Community College, that's what it stood for. Originally, it was a college station, but it stands for Knowsley Community Champions, something I've really pushed over the last couple of months because that's where we're based. We're from Knowsley, we're for Knowsley, and everyone who volunteers are either or works there either are from Knowsley or they're coming there to champion it and make a difference in that community, even though we also serve the surrounding areas of Liverpool as well when we do events and stuff like that. However, going back to the very beginning was 2003. A lad called, I would say lad, he's someone I look up to and a mentor to me now is Howell Evans. He founded the station with George Sweeney, who was knighted for his work for community work and stuff like that, and obviously some of the higher ups at the college at the time. And it was just there as I think it was more of a testing pool to see how students would engage. It was like a student development thing of, well, let's try this and see how it would work. And it was just on medium wave around Roby area. So we would only pick us up in the college and the first couple of streets on Roby. It was medium wave. So you know how frequencies work. It was very, very small. And then it got that popular with students. Students wouldn't want to leave the college. And so they'll go, oh, no, I want to carry on doing the radio thing. So a few years passed, and Howell and the team and Chris Jones, who's been one of the best directors ever of KCC, him and Howell applied for an application to go on FM, and in 2009 it was granted. 2008 to start in 2009, and then from that we've been broadcasting on 99.8 FM across the whole of Knowsley. So that's a long time for a community station. So it's been 18 years since it started, which not many community radio stations last that long. It's great we have, but it's always a battle and to get it to the next year. And that's we always plan 1 year. And we don't like planning 4 or 5 years. As much as fun that is, and we'll have little things we want to do, we always go, let's get to the next year. For us now, for me, my personal aim is to get it to 20 years, to get it to 18 years. Was an achievement for me, especially over the rocky period we just had. But that's probably the mentality of the station. It's always been year to year.
Well, the thing about it is that, being here for 21 years now, I know I got that American accent people always talk about. But, what's interesting about KCC is the fact that, we're talking about back in the days where it was about radio. It wasn't about podcasting. Podcasting is really more
it's more new. Yeah,
it's more of a new thing now, especially over here in England compared to the States. But in that aspect, so KCC was our radio station. There was especially in the South End, you had pirate radio, Tossa radio, all that kind of stuff. You have people who were trying to get RSL tower, or what are they, RSS towers and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember being involved with groups like that where we were trying to do that. You know, dark fiber. Let's get some dark fiber in here. You know, and everybody was trying their best to match radio, but KCC was actually doing it, and they were like kind of like the model to follow. Would you think that?
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to you know, people from other stations to reach out to us, and you know, in 2011 to be nominated for a Sony. I think that's when it was a massive turning point. So that award doesn't go anymore, but it's like the pinnacle of what you can get.
So
in
what
radio.
is it, nominated for a Sony Award?
Yeah. So it's
that.
now the Radio Academy Awards now. I think it's rebranded to, but yeah, to get a Sony is like you're sort of looked at in the industry as leaders and really, you know, good quality radio.
Wait a minute, did you get the Sony Award?
Yeah, we didn't win, but we were nominated, and for us to be nominated
I got
was...
to say he buried the lead, but
But to be nominated and a little old KCC Lie to do that, and bear in mind that's 2011, we had only been doing FM stuff since 2009, was a massive moment, and I literally came in at that time, so everyone talks to me about my journey, and I tell the people now, being station manager, I came at KCC Lie probably at the best time you could ever come in at. You had the people like Dave North, Claire Bino, Rob Tobin, Chrissy Willis, Phil Smith, Matt Marshall. You know, there's probably people I'm missing out. Ashley Shackle, Lawton Warren. You know, there's so many people, and all of them have gone to do great things in their own fields.
Yeah, and Christie's in BBC, I believe now.
Yeah, and someone I still reach out to. Well, to be fair, I say reach out to, more recently reached out to, because like I'm now in a hair seat, and it's funny because I now see things completely different.
Yeah.
From when I was the pain
it's
in
from
the
the
backside.
view from above.
Yeah, you go, okay, now I know. But to be fair, Chrissy was like one of the best mentors you could ever have.
Yeah,
like she always had an open door policy of that you know, and that's what we do at KCC. It's not just like I'm the station manager, I'll tell you what to do. It's more like come in, ask me questions, know how the station runs. Everyone has a sort of a say in how it runs, and it's not just you know, my brand, it's our brand, and we all contribute.
Well, it's community, innit?
Yeah. And you know, something, you know, I probably picked that up a lot from Chrissy being local as well from Knowsley, and you know, really going emphasis on the local stuff. You know, we worked with the Willowbrook Hospice years back on a Moonlight Walk thing, which was just my first event. I remember it.
Wow.
It was just being hundreds of people in St. Helens, because it was a walk from like St. Helens to Knowsley, or vice versa. It might have been the other way around, but like that was my first taste of an event. And then Matt got me working with Summer Live, which was a thing the college was sponsoring it, but we, as KCC Lie, went and interviewed major chart artists playing the Echo Arena and stuff like that. So we've had, probably where we're based probably helps us in a sense of, and the people we have, and the passion of people in Knowsley as well. So because when they come across KCC, they automatically go, oh yeah, I've heard of yours, and then they want to get involved. And you always get two groups of volunteers. You'll get those who are sort of quiet at the beginning, who then grow as individuals, and that's what the station's there for, is to develop social skills and give people an opportunity to learn about them, because we teach them all these skills, we teach them Ofcom, we teach them everything they need to know, but when it comes to making a radio show, that's unique to the person. Like we don't sit there and go, you have to say KCC Live in your links. You have to at some point, but where you say it is entirely up to you. If you want to say it at the end or the beginning, whatever, you know, that's up to that person. Because you've got to go into the studio, find what's sort of interesting and intriguing about them. Because at the end of the day, it's weird, because if you do radio or you do podcast, you'll know when you pre-record the show, it's just you in a room and maybe a producer. So you're just chatting to yourself.
Pretty much.
In any other job, you're probably looked at as a crazy person for doing that. But what we found is these people come in and they're so quiet. I was the same, you know, I came into KCC at 15. I was really bad at school. Didn't do anything well at school. Didn't really walk out of school with a decent qualification. And I'm honest about that. I literally went into my old school a few weeks ago and said that I'm probably the worst person to be standing going, be good at school, because I was terrible. Yeah. But I had KCC to fall back on, in the sense of I found it. I sort of came across KCC at the last year of me being in school, and then I met Dave North at a college gate thing the college were doing, like an open evening thing. And I don't think he actually remembers this story, but I spoke to Dave, who does doing the drive show then. He's now at BBC himself, and he was, I think he was the first to go to BBC Merseyside. And I joined from that conversation pretty much. I went in and I was 15, so they was like, well, we're not doing like training because we used to do it in like big groups then till like September. So I technically joined KCC as a volunteer presenter before I joined the actual college, where I would later then study for doing creative media production. So for me to be still working there now, it's weird because even now I talk to college staff and it's like, we've known you for like 10 years. And people see the growth, and I've seen it change people's lives. Like, people come into KC and they can't read or write.
Yeah.
But somehow through radio, because they've grew confidence and they've had to do a show plan, they're learning them skills without even thinking they're doing it.
Well, but see, that's what I think is really interesting, is because, like, you have the time spent where, these are like these creative skills or life skills that people have, right, that are natural to them. Like, are you a great communicator? Can you talk and all that? And sometimes people start out not being so good at that. But, it's good to hear from you about how a lot of people have gone on to success, because if they've gone on to the BBC, they've gone on to jobs.
Yeah.
By work volunteering and presenting.
I think that's
there
what
at KCC first.
Yeah, I think that's what stands out on KCC. You say you know of it, and I think that's one of the main reasons why, because Chrissy went to BBC, Dave North went to BBC, Claire Bino's in BBC events in London, Rob Tobin's head producing at Kiss FM Breakfast. And
there are jobs out there that people don't normally think about and everything, and they're getting that experience here through you, through volunteer presenting, as you say. Let me ask you about, with FM, basically your station, has it always been 24 hours or?
So as soon as you went FM, yeah, you have like a obligation to do broadcast. So we're on FM 24/7, 365
and obviously
days.
that means they could pre-record some of those shows, or you could put on playlists like for the overnights, like a music playlist, like say from 12 to 5 in the morning. So it's not like, oh man, I got to get up at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, so usually that's how we would work it. A lot of it might be a bit of pre-records overnight. Now and again, we've done like one lad, Matty Orm, also been there for same length of time as me. John Riley's another one. You guys know him here at where we are. Like, we all came in at the same time, but Matty Orm done a 24-hour broadcast. I'm not too sure if that's ever been done before then or since, where he basically done a 24-hour show called The Soundboard with local artists coming in and performing, and we done that for 24 hours. I went a part of that, so I'm not going to take any sort of credit, but I remember watching from afar because it was in my little break period of the station I was talking to you about off air. But to sort of see that actually got me intrigued to, actually want to get more involved again behind the scenes, because that's what I find intriguing. You go through these stages, as we were just saying then, you touched on it, is in the sense of people come in, they haven't got them skills, but they might find out that they like the behind the scenes stuff. I found that in recent years, where I used to be, I want to be a presenter, and now I'm just like, actually I like doing the business side of it, and the being responsible for an entire radio station was quite interesting to me, and how we brand stuff.
Programming and all that?
Yeah. So like learning programming, which I learned off Chrissy. Chrissy gave me my first opportunity at doing that, like just heading up weekend, and I made mistakes, and Chrissy was blunt with me. But
what do you mean, like you cursed on the air, didn't you? I've done that.
No, I've never done that actually. It was more I made some programming errors, as in the sense of like sorting other people's shows out. There were a few mistakes when they were going live, and I was like, oh, right, okay. But that's the thing about KCC. I do it with my volunteers now. It's not like, I don't encourage mistakes, but if it happens, I'm just like, as long as you learn from it, it's an experience.
True.
Like plus it's only a mistake if anyone gets onto it.
Yeah. Not everybody's listening that hard. But like in that aspect though is, so now that we're moving into the present, like what about podcasting? Because, do you have more podcast talk shows, or what kind of exciting creative shows are you interested in making? As you said, you're involved in program and stuff. Yeah.
So let's go into lockdown a little bit. So when I actually took over the station, from Mark Johnston, MJ Ruckus, in 2019. So the first thing I had to deal with was a pandemic, which was a bit of a weird one. So I literally got my feet under the table as in the sense of a coordinator, and we were just going to see how it goes. And then we was hit with a pandemic, which a lot of people, everyone was. But like we had a little bit of a programming thing then, so it was like, right, how do we continue as at the same level as KCC? Because I'm a perfectionist. But anyone who's close to me, Meg Shaw will tell you, Jimsky will tell you, I'm a like, if something's not done to a certain level, I just it does me head in. Like it has to be done at a good level, and that's just me being a perfectionist. Like people work and absolutely smash it at KCC. Like I've got probably the best crop of team members now, volunteers, staff that we've ever had. But yeah, when it comes to programming and podcasts, it's something we have moved into mainly in lockdown. People like AJ Marks, not too sure if that you know.
Oh yeah,
them.
I know AJ Marks. Yeah, he was over at us for a bit.
Yeah.
With Sola.
Yeah, so that both of them now do the American Idiots Abroad podcast
American
with us.
Idiots Abroad. I was trying to figure out, I'm an American. Yeah.
So that I heard that and literally reached out to Sola, who was, as we were going on about before, a friend of a friend. So she knows Bronny. I know Bronny quite
Bronny
well.
Music.
Yeah.
We invited Bronny Music to come over here. Not to come over here, just to do an interview.
Yeah. But yeah, I sort of met them through Bronny, and I was literally we were just going back and forth on Instagram, and then Sola done an interview with another presenter, someone I'm super close to, called Amber, who's at the moment in Korea writing K-pop tunes, which is pretty cool. Nice. And she does a K-pop show with us. But I just got talking to Sola and AJ and was like, why don't we just bring the podcast to us and we'll just air it? You've got enough content anyway. So we started with that, and then it grew popular, and then Red's Cast is a Liverpool podcast, footy podcast that we air, and then there's a grassroots one we air, which is just wrapping up because obviously the season's finished.
Yeah, Don't Cross the Line.
Yeah, so Mally and stuff. I met him.
You know, a lot of these people were over here at Big Condo, you know. Just saying.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we are also, Meg Venchetta done a little podcast for a little bit as well.
Hell?
Yeah. So
what, did she do her music box over there?
No.
Okay.
It was what was the name of the show? That many shows and that many people come in that it's hard to remember all of them.
You know what, Dan? I got to tell you, inviting all your friends that they were into your party. I never got invited. Nobody ever called Chase to come over to KCC Lie.
We'll have to talk after this.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, go ahead. Moving on.
But no, it's like that's the talent in the city right now. I think everyone, and I think in lockdown as well, people just went, I'm bored. So we got such an uptake in people wanting to try podcasting. So we now.
That's what I love. That's what I love about Talk Podcast, because I mean, even us doing this is that like there's a lot more interest in just listening to music all the time. Yeah.
So we had a great one for that came back for about 2 years from J Mac, who's a DJ in Largo. He's absolutely phenomenal. So if you're going on a night out, check Jay out. With Mo Stewart from Anfield Rap.
The Anfield Rap with Ian Salmon.
But they would just talk about sort of music and what's happening in the industry, and just obviously football was brought up and Liverpool culture in a sense of what was happening in the city and people's voice. We are bringing back a talk show, like a discussion show called Open Air, something we've done in the past, something we want to bring back again. We've done it in stages in lockdown, but it was hard to get, like, because it's multiple people, it's hard to get everyone on Zoom at one point. So to bring that back, it's that, and that's to bring up issues in Knowsley and Liverpool for young people. So that'll be young, people in the sense of 18, maybe even younger than that, because that's what the station's there for, the youth today to have a voice. And it'll be, hosted by some amazing KC presenters. So it's a little bit different. You never know what you're going to get. So we're going to try something a little bit unique, and it's also going to be produced by Sean Ponsonby, who's an absolute legend, someone I've learnt off quite a lot in radio. So to have him come back into the fold to do that. This is the first time I've actually spoke about Open Air coming back, so there you go.
Well, Zoom, what a terrible operation. But
are you a Teams fan?
Huh?
Or are you a Google Teams fan?
Oh no, man, no. But I mean, it was just that. I mean, so lockdown, like you said, it affected everyone, and like for me, it sent me to my kitchen. The Echo was proud to say, yes, we got Wu-Tang in the kitchen, podcasting from his kitchen. But like,
it's nice seeing everyone's gaff though, innit? You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
not my kitchen. But like, the thing about it is that Zoom was a horrible operation. You guys still was able to go into your building and still operate from there, though, weren't you? Or did you have to do the Zoom experience?
We did the Zoom. Well, I went in. I cleared it with our building site, and we had to put COVID things in place. So, like,
yeah, of course,
because we have different people at different levels of health and stuff like that. So I just like, look, like everyone. To be fair, at KCC, and I said this in a team meeting. Everyone just had kits and stuff. So like people, just even people who'd been at the station prior, I remember getting messages going, "How are you coping on a normal radio schedule?" Because what a lot of radio stations did, even commercially, was stretch shows for 4 hours. Where we just kept it the same. Like we we actually shut the station for the the volunteer base a little bit earlier than before lockdown was announced, because we had a feeling it might have been going that way. So we already had a sort of a plan in place to do that. People were recording shows from home or going live when they could from the studio when that was permitted. And then I was going in just either I would work from home or I'd be in the studio pressing buttons, putting them shows in, dropping them in, and that was all above board and stuff. But to get that in place was tricky. So for the first couple of weeks and a month or two, till people could actually be allowed to go to an office or a working environment, because there was that time in the lockdown where no one could go anywhere.
I know, man.
And that was such a pain. And to be fair, I feel like it brought us closer together, because that whole year, for content wise, was probably one of the best years KCC's ever had. Hence, we won Radio Station of the Year.
Creative.
Yeah, and in a weird way, it forced those who were like probably being at the station for a while, aka me and a few others, who hadn't been sort of pushed to something new. So we was like, oh, we haven't had to deal with this before. This is interesting. I was still doing a show at the time as well, so I was doing a show daily as well as putting people shows in, and then obviously I brought Meg Shaw in, who was just an absolute godsend when it came to program and stuff. How quick she's picked that up. I've never known anyone in an industry, and I've got to work with some amazing talent. I mentioned Rob Tobin before. He got named 30 under 30 in the radio industry a few years back, and to this day, I'd say I've never worked with anyone better till Meg came in, and how quick she picked it up. I've never known anyone to pick up radio or podcast so quickly.
Yeah. Speaking of Meg is like again pulling us into the present day. One of these new initiatives, or like you guys have started. I mean, since you've changed people behind the scenes and new team members, such as welcoming Miguel DeForno from MD Productions, and doing something like that. We just experienced the For Love of Music Awards.
Yeah.
At the Hilton Hotel, which was fantastic.
Thank you.
Not just because we were invited, because we never get invited anywhere, but because we also had gotten some awards out of that. But thank you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, well deserved, right? And everything like that. But so tell us about the For Love of Music Awards, especially since this might be coming back again. Yeah,
this is something we want to bring back. It's something really, and it was actually you mentioned Miguel. It was the first conversation we had before he became sort of a director of the station. We had an initial chat in August 2020 maybe, and the first thing we both agreed on was Liverpool music. He took more of a note to it because of how popular it became in lockdown. I think mainstream artists wasn't releasing music when people are going through a rough time. That's what you go to. It's what everyone relates to a point, at some point. So it was in our first initial conversation. I went, look, I've had this idea for years. It was always banded about the KCC Lie office as maybe if we could, how boss would it be if we done a music awards. And it was just something I've had in my head for the last 2-3 years. I've become I was saying off air to one of your colleagues that I started working with Liphead and with Tube, and that's how I came across Meg and Tilly Louise and all these amazing artists now who people are starting to get onto. But if we didn't do that and we weren't playing them on KCC, the whole point of the KCC was to give young people a voice and artists a platform to do the thing. So I was like, well, we've just went through probably the toughest ever time in our lives, especially for music and that entire industry. We all suffered, and I feel like people don't realize how sort of connected media people are and music people to a point. So I was like, let's do something that brings not just artists together, but creatives like yourselves in the same room. To us, it went about just giving people awards. It was, let's get people collaborating and let's get people in a room. And to have the likes of Cove, yourself, Jamie, Roisy, all in the same room. For me, that was my proudest probably moment of KCC, and the fact that we pulled it off for the first ever one. With the challenges it had, like literally, like we were supposed to be doing it in February. Well, originally it was going to be in 2021, and then we had to postpone it because we all went back into lockdown, and it was that weird time. And then we was like, right, we're all clear, and we give it a couple of months to make sure we were clear to do it. And we spoke to the Hilton, who were brilliant and so understanding. The team there, Tom and his team there, are fantastic.
Great catering as well.
Yeah. And we literally went, let's do it in February. And then we had a few COVID cases, so we was like, right, let's just postpone it. And then the Hilton were very understanding. Then we just literally done it in April. So like to do that awards and actually get it done after 18 months of planning, and to have, as I said, the likes of you, Roisy, Cove,
well, let's not
AV Club in the same room as well. And
but also let's not forget like the great presentation for very good friend of mine, a good friend of yours out there, Paul Kinggate, and having his daughter Haley not only perform but talk about her dad was just amazing. To acknowledge such a strong and powerful person in his community, who has worked with so many of the young people that was already performing there, and that people who've known and worked with. That's such a, it was great that your award ceremony was able to honor such a man.
I feel like we needed to in the fact of, I only met Paul a few times, and I've got to work with Haley over the last 18 months with me doing odd bits with MD Creatives, like doing a bit of teaching there, and just her dad's knowledge on music when I spoke to him briefly, because he would always pop in and out. He worked with the station down the years, and then getting to know Haley. Me and Miguel was like, well, we can't not acknowledge Paul, like what he done for the city on a community level and in music. He was a mentor to so many people. People I interact with would always speak about him. Like, I felt like I knew him before I met him, and then I did meet him, and he was a great man. Give me really good advice. And then obviously I've got to work with Haley, who's just absolutely phenomenal, and people don't realize how phenomenal Haley is musically. And then she performs, and people are like, wow. I only heard and seen Haley perform for the first time. Probably it would have been 2019, maybe 2020, or the last few years have just merged into one, really. But I remember being at like an event for MD, and I was just doing a bit of sound tech behind, and I remember like behind the artist performing, and I just remember Haley singing, and I got completely distracted. I was like, wow. I was just in awe of this powerful voice, where I was like, where's what? And there's a funny picture someone showed me from that event of me just like, it's like, just for the reaction. And I feel like a lot of people were in the room like that, because after she gave that speech, I don't know where she found that strength to then perform straight after that speech. I think, a dad would have been super, super proud of her, and he, I think the legacy he's left in Liverpool, I think he's not someone we're ever going to forget, and we're going to try and do our bit at KCC to make sure that is the case, that his name does carry on, and the legacy does carry on as well, working with the foundation. So make sure you go and give the Paul Kinggate Foundation a follow on socials.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why I'm just saying it's just great whenever there's acknowledgement for people like that, because when they're gone, they're still here. Yeah. And that's just fantastic that your award show was able to do that. So you're looking to do one before the end of the year?
We're hoping so. It depends on, for us, KCC being a limited sort of company by trade, and basically what that means is anyone who make people back into the core cost of the station and put into the community, basically we don't actually profit from any of it. So like, if we've got the funding there, then we'll definitely 100% do another one. We're going to see what it is for my team and what we've got planned, and we've got a lot planned in the next couple of months. We've got another local on live just in a matter of weeks, which is another amazing thing. We've sort of took off since lockdown.
Local and live, what's that?
So we do make sure there's a local and live show on a Monday. We then turned it into a gig. So we had this concept from what I was telling you earlier. I work with Lipper and Tube. I'm sure you know what Tube is. It's a weekly show at Lipper. So we were recording that. And we're there every Monday. And then Meg joined and done Local Live, which is our weekly 2-hour show just for local artists. You won't hear any sort of commercial stuff.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Literally 2 hours of Meg chatting local bops. And then we went, what if we made it a gig that we can try and get artists some paid gigs? And we've done that at times when we can. But yeah, we've been taking that once a month to a venue. So Liverpool Arts Bars being in one. Nice. I'm trying to think of others. Jimmy's has been one. Like, we played pretty much every venue now in the city centre, but we're still going and we're still looping it. And you know, we've got Ewan Blackman on the next one. He's a phenomenal artist, just done an incredible performance. So I heard that at Lipper at Tube. So that's definitely someone you want to keep an eye on for sure. But yeah, it's something we've took immense pride in doing that. And it links with what we're trying to do with Local and Live. For me, it's more when I took over the station. KC has this legacy of supporting local artists, and it's what it's known for. From Jamie to DJ, Toucan, with what he done with the station, to MJ Ruckus, what he done, to Chrissy Willis, who we mentioned before. Like, all these set the bar like up here. So another reason why we done for Love for Music Awards, I said to Miguel, I want to do something that puts my mark in what I've done with the station with local artists. And for me, that's what Love for Music, that's where the idea came from as well. So I was like, I wanted to leave some sort of legacy that we can continue as a station. So we had the first one. Hopefully we'll get another one. If not, it'll be definitely one next year.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I just want to thank you for coming into our studio to tell us all about the legend that is to be known as KCC Lie and everything, for Love Music, and also for like a lot of the plans and the strategies that you put into place to try and make your mark onto KCC Live and everything. And I believe that you have done so. What a true mark you have made and everything. And so what is it for Local and Live for people to look out for?
Yeah, Local and Live, there's a Instagram page. So if you just you can go to KCC Live on Instagram, or you can follow Meg Shaw Sings. She's the host of it all. Or you can just go, I think it's local_and_live. Yeah. Might be another underscore in there, but she keeps changing it.
Yeah. For Local and Live, Make Sure Sings. You know how it is. Yeah. And all those other people that used to start out a big condo.
Yeah. You're next.
So like, Phil, do not leave me. But I'm Shane Chancellor. This is Dan Spellman from KCC Live. You've been listening to Liverpool Online here on Liverpool Online. No, we're in the Liverpool Community Podcast. I lost my thought. But either way you did, I lost my voice too. Thank you for watching. Peace, we out of here.
Amazing.